Coming in at number 10, Jessica Jones. Since her debut in Marvel's Alias #1, Jessica Jones has had a storied history and is one of Marvel's darker heroes. She obtained her powers in a car crash when her vehicle collided with a military convoy carrying radioactive chemicals. The experience killed her family but left her with superhuman strength and durability. She has gone by different names throughout her story arc, once known as Jewel and another time known as Nitrous. She is a skilled hand-to-hand fighter and a talented private investigator. Her powers include accelerated healing, flight, and even telepathic resistance due to her experiences with the Purple Man and some help from Jean Grey. Jessica is a fighter and is more powerful than she looks. Number 9, Black Widow. We meet Black Widow first in Tales of Suspense number 52 in 1964, where she meets Iron Man and inadvertently helps him defeat some Soviet agents. Formerly a KGB agent, she was trained by the Red Room, part of the Black Widow Ops program, in an effort to create the ultimate super spy. She eventually defects to America and later joins the Avengers. With a history over 50 years long, Black Widow's powers vary from story to story, but some of her most impressive powers include peak human strength, speed, and endurance. She is a master martial artist, weapons expert, disguise expert, talented hacker. Honestly, I could go on, but you get the idea. She's a super spy. Number 8, She-Hulk. Jennifer Walters, aka She-Hulk, is introduced in Savage She-Hulk #1 in 1980. As the cousin of Bruce Banner, Jennifer is shot by a mobster and then given a transfusion of Bruce Banner's blood to save her. She is later attacked a second time, and the danger activates the gamma radiation particles in her blood, causing her to transform into the Hulk. Meek and mousy in her human form, Jennifer enjoyed the newfound confidence of her Hulk form and quickly gained the same intelligence as her normal self even when transformed. She was in the first Secret Wars, temporary member of the Fantastic Four, and even joined the Avengers. Her powers include the usual gamma radiation package, strength, stamina, healing factor, and she is trained with Captain America and Gamora, and she has a law degree. Number 7, Storm. Also known as Aurora Monroe, we first meet Storm in Giant X-Men #1 in 1975. She is a descendant of an ancient line of African priestesses who all share the same white hair, blue eyes, and magical abilities. As a child, she survived a plane crash that destroyed her home and left her with severe claustrophobia after being trapped underneath some rubble. She served with the X-Men for years, eventually becoming their leader after Cyclops' departure. In Black Panther Volume 4, Storm marries the Black Panther and becomes the Queen of Wakanda, but none of the ladies on this list are defined by their relationship to a man. Storm is classified as an Omega level mutant, wielding mystical power drawn from her ancestors. She has the psionic ability to manipulate weather, from adjusting atmospheric pressure to creating a cooling mist on a hot day. She also boasts telepathic resistance, energy vision, teleportation, and limitless magical potential thanks to her bloodline. She is also multilingual and an expert gardener. Number 6, Wonder Woman. First appearing in All-Star Comics #8 in 1941, Wonder Woman is easily one of the most recognizable female heroes and has been around since the beginning. Also known as Princess Diana, she was born on Paradise Island, the first child ever born there. She has some classic superhero equipment, including indestructible bracelets, the lasso of truth, the royal tiara, and an invisible airplane. She is a founding member of the Justice League and has an impressive selection of powers, including superhuman strength, speed, durability, and flight.
Number 5, Emma Frost. On the flip side of the coin from Selene, who we talked about earlier, we have Emma Frost, the White Queen. Emma is also known for being a very powerful telepath, and while she might not be as versatile as Selene, she doesn't need to feed on psychic energy like Selene does. Emma Frost is often referred to as the White Queen from her time as being a part of the Hellfire Club as well. She was the White Queen. See what I'm saying? Emma started out originally as a villain in the comics but didn't stay one for long, eventually reforming and even joining the X-Men team. She's an adept teacher and leader in addition to her powers. She's not only an immensely skilled telepath, but also possesses her diamond form, which makes her almost indestructible in battle. Almost.
Number 4, Rogue. Rogue is the adopted daughter of Mystique, so you already know that if Mystique likes her, there's gotta be something special about her. We covered this in our last collab together, but Mystique isn't really the best mom, so for her to willingly take on the responsibility of being a mom, it's gotta be for a good reason. She's given away too many kids already. Rogue is another super powerful mutant. She has the ability to absorb the life forces, abilities, personality, and other physical characteristics of others through touch. She also had superhuman strength during the period of time that she had absorbed Carol Danvers' powers and personality within her. Now just think about how OP that is. Not only does Rogue have the ability to take the powers of others, but in certain scenarios she's also able to tap into the stolen abilities and use them against her opponent. This happened a lot while she had Carol Danvers still inside her, because not only was she able to tap into her abilities, but Carol was also able to take over Rogue's body in a way when Rogue was unconscious or under a lot of stress. So that's pretty powerful if you ask me. Also, a little side fact for you. Mystique would have actually been Rogue's biological mom if the character's creator Chris Claremont hadn't left Marvel in 1991. So there you go.
Number 3. Storm. Storm is referred to as a goddess for a good reason. She is a mighty hero who wields influential power over the elements. While this doesn't seem to be a power that Thor often reaches for in the comics, despite also possessing that, Storm does not shy away from using her mutant gifts against her enemy. When fighting Storm, you'll want to watch out, as it is easy for her to call down a bolt of lightning to strike you at any point. As a child, she also possessed a fear of small spaces, known as claustrophobia. In the past, when this fear has been evoked, like when Doom encased her in a form-fitting metal shell, Storm has also been shown to tap into the full potential of her powers, creating storms massive enough to envelop the whole planet. Number 2. Rachel Summers. One of the most powerful and often underrated mutants of all is Rachel Summers. Rachel is the daughter of Scott Summers and Jean Grey from an alternate timeline. She was born with a small part of the Phoenix within her. Instead of her mother perishing after the X-Men's clash with the Shi'ar, Jean lived and married Scott. Together they had Rachel, and because this version of Jean was still bonded with the Phoenix Force at the time, a part of the cosmic entity lives on in Rachel. Aside from her connection to the Phoenix Force, which grants her awesome powers, enhancing both her telekinetic and telepathic powers as well, Rachel also possesses the ability of time manipulation. Her time manipulation powers are complex and can be useful in a variety of ways, such as when we see her use them in 2020's X Factor in issue 1, to chrono-skip through the time of an object belonging to North Star's sister, Aurora, in order to track her down and investigate her death.
Number 1. Jean Grey. Jean Grey is probably one of the most, or even the most powerful mutants, simply because of her ability to control the Phoenix Force. Going from being X-Men's weakest member to being its strongest, Marvel Girl died, and like a phoenix was reborn as well, Phoenix. In the Uncanny X-Men issues 101 to 108, also known as the Phoenix Saga, we watched as Jean became the powerful mutant Phoenix, and then in Uncanny X-Men 129 to 138, we saw her evolve into Dark Phoenix. The Phoenix Force is a sum of all life in the universe, and it takes hosts through time, so this thing is already pretty damn powerful. But things get cranked up a few notches when Phoenix is corrupted by evil, taking on the new Dark Phoenix persona. In this state, she consumes a star and 5 billion people on a nearby planet. Now if that doesn't scream all-powerful being, then I don't know, man. Ultimately, Jean's personality buried way down there manages to take control, and the Phoenix ends up dying by suicide. Again, even when she's not technically the all-powerful Phoenix, Jean's personality was strong enough to sort of take down the Phoenix from the inside. Also, after her death, she was in the white hot room. Death told Jean that because her spirit was most closely carved from the Phoenix, that she was destined to take on the Phoenix Force. Obviously, it takes a very strong person to be considered a perfect fit for the Phoenix.
Number 10. Vampirella. Created in 1969, Vampirella is a sinister seductress and has always been a fan favorite and a very popular cosplay. Originally from the planet Draculon, she travels to Earth to hunt down the dark remnants of her own race. Earth's vampires originate from Dracula, who left his homeworld centuries ago and became corrupted by a demonic entity. Her origin has since been retconned and become more complicated, but that's the gist of it. A vampire-inspired superheroine taking down evil demons. She has some awesome powers, including super hearing, perfect night vision, and super senses, allowing her to discern someone's emotional state through their scent. She has a powerful healing factor and is immortal. She's hypnotic and seductive, a skilled hand-to-hand fighter, and knows her way around firearms too. Number 9. Black Canary. First appearing in Flash Comics number 86 in 1947, Black Canary is a classic vigilante superhero who fights crime alongside Green Arrow, who she is usually romantically involved with. She has been a member of Birds of Prey and the Justice League, also known as Dina Drake or Dina Lance, depending on how confusing you find the DC Universe. curse. Initially, she was portrayed as a hand-to-hand fighter without superpowers who poses as a criminal to infiltrate gangs, but now she's a master martial artist, proficient in a million fighting styles, reserving her signature move, the Canary Cry, for only the most powerful enemies. It's a superpowered sonic scream that shatters glass and can even kill. The origin of the Canary Cry power has been retconned many times, but originally it was a magical power received as a curse from a wizard. Later it's explained to be a metahuman ability. As of the New 52, her ability is the result of human experimentation by the leaders of Team 7. She is an expert motorcyclist, gymnast, and tactician. And fun fact about Black Canary, in 2016, DC Comics released a 3-track album called EP1 to promote her new story, in which she becomes the lead singer of a band that shares her name. You know, like the Archies. Hey gang, before I hit number 8, I need you guys to hit that like button. Thanks so much guys, it really helps us out. Number 8, Hawk Girl. Female counterpart to the hero Hawkman, Shira Sanders first appeared in Flash Comics #1 in 1940. She has been a member of the All-Star Squadron and an associate of the Justice Society of America. Centuries ago, she was Che-Ara, princess of ancient Egypt. Her and her lover, Prince Khufu, were killed by Hathset with a knife made of an alien material, metal. Now, Khufu and Che-Ara are doomed to find one another and fall in love in every reincarnation, only for Hathset to find them and murder them again. Her powers most notably include animal empathy, she can speak to birds, and improved strength, vision, and healing, as well as a vulnerability to deja vu. She sometimes experiences visions or memories from her past lives, which is especially troublesome when it happens in the middle of combat. Number 7. Invisible Woman. Also known as Susan Storm Richards, the Invisible Girl had her big debut in Fantastic Four #1 in 1961. She has had a storied history, as the origins of the Fantastic Four have been revisited a few times. The team was given their powers when the 4 of them were mutated by cosmic rays testing an experimental starship. She later discovers new powers, including the ability to turn objects invisible and manipulate force fields. She eventually marries Dr. Reed and they end up having a baby. She goes on superhero maternity leave and Crystal of the Inhumans steps in, but this list has nothing to do with superhero children. She has the ability to manipulate color, create psionic force fields, and even travel through the air, projecting psionic force beneath her to create columns of energy traveling in a zigzag flight path. Sue's force fields are incredibly powerful and can even prevent telekinesis from passing through them. Fun facts about Sue: she's an expert sailor, carries a universal translator, and wears a micro-galaxy ring containing 74 inhabited worlds. Number 6. Vixen. Also known as Mary McCabe, Vixen first appeared in Action Comics in 1981. She grew up in a small village in Africa and as a child heard from her parents the legend of the Tantu Totem, a token that grants the wearer all the powers of the animal kingdom, if the powers are being used to protect the innocent. She eventually moves to America and begins a successful career as a fashion model, using her wealth to travel around the world. She eventually returns to Africa, stealing the totem back from her evil uncle, Mustafa Maksai. The Tantu Totem enables her to tap into the morphogenetic field of the earth, sometimes known as the Red. It is the force connecting all animal life and microorganisms in the universe, and tapping into it allows her to access incredible animal powers. She can mimic the abilities of any animal she can think of. Vixen is also a skilled athlete, boxer, and hand-to-hand fighter. One drawback of her powers: if she stays in animal form too long, she begins to become less human and more animal-like, seemingly losing control and risking giving in completely to animal behaviors. The full extent of her power over the Red is unknown, but once she cooperated with Animal Man and Tristis, and together they created an entire universe. It's rumored that Vixen will be appearing in DC's Truth and Justice in 2021.
Number 5. Titania. Titania is Mary McFerrin, a girl who was known for her small stature and often mocked for it when she was young, and aspired to become something greater than what she felt she was born into. After being offered powers by supervillain Dr. Doom, she was transformed into the powerhouse known as Titania. Titania has been shown to be skilled and strong enough to defeat a whole wheelhouse of powerful superheroes, including Luke Cage and Iron Fist, as well as The Thing and Mr. Fantastic. She's also kicked the butt of Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, is faster than a speeding bullet and Mjolnir itself, and can take a direct hit from the mythical hammer and be left completely unfazed by it. Now, some of this went on while her powers were boosted admittedly, but either way, Titania is not a villain you'd want to face in a fistfight. I would not not want to face her in a fist fight because my face would get punched into the next, into the nega zone. I'd be gone. You'd have no face left. Yikes. Number 4, Madam Hydra. Madam Hydra has close ties to quite a few superheroes and other famous villains, and we also for a time have known her under the codename Viper, which is also very important indeed given her obsession with snake venom in addition to other toxins and poisons. Madam Hydra's legal name is Ophelia Sarkinson, and like her codename implies, she is often known for being a ruler of Hydra and as a member of their High Council. She has close ties to Jessica Drew's Spider-Woman, who she has fought against and also sought to re-recruit, Wolverine, whom she was married to, and obviously Captain America, because Hydra. So yeah. As I said, Madam Hydra is fond of poisons, toxins, and venoms, and as such generally employs them for use as weapons through projectiles and even her lipstick. She also possesses near toxin immunity, which she obtained through frequent and carefully measured exposure. I wish that was true. What if you had actually, isn't that kind of how allergies work? Can't you be exposed to them in small amounts and then you can overcome your allergy? I don't know if that's true, but that might be true. It might be science. Don't try that if you're allergic to something and you die. Don't do it though, because I think then it doesn't work. Number 3, Moonstone. Like many of the deadliest and most villainous women in Marvel, Moonstone is really just a woman looking to put herself before others. She's always out to get what she needs first, which generally makes her a villain. But there have been times when Karla Sofin has both posed as a hero and also truly tried to be a hero. She was part of Baron Zemo's Thunderbolts, built out of his Masters of Evil team, and rebranded and disguised as superheroes, following the apparent destruction of most of Earth's heroes by Onslaught. Following this, the Thunderbolts did attempt to truly become heroes under the leadership of Hawkeye, whom Karla started a relationship with. Moonstone was also the Miss Marvel equivalent to Norman Osborn's Dark Avengers team, acting far more villainously once more. She can manipulate gravity, making her super powerful and allowing her to basically augment much of her own abilities, including durability, strength, and speed. She can even turn herself invisible using her gravity manipulation, and she can teleport. Number 2, Mystique. One of the deadliest women out there when it comes to female villains has got to be my girl, Mystique. The best thing about Mystique too is she's really a relatable villain because a lot of times she's kind of just looking out for number 1, herself. Wow, did I just say she's relatable and then I talked about how selfish she was? I think people are all selfish to an extent, which is true. I think we are all selfish at times. And sometimes Mystique also just behaves evilly to look out for those she legitimately cares for, like her now dead wife Destiny and their adopted daughter Rogue, whether or not Rogue actually wants her help or protection. And so that is definitely relatable, I think. Looking out for other people, even sometimes when people are like, I don't want your help, and you're like, well, I'm still gonna help you because I love you. Her shape-shifting powers means that she can pose as pretty much anyone, and her skills in disguise and impersonation help to smooth over these appearances, allowing her to even move and act like those whom she adopts the identity of. Not only that, but Mystique is a skillful fighter and manipulator, so she's not someone you want to get on the bad side of. Trust me, other people have, and they have been backstabbed so many times, their back is basically like a knife block at this point. Yikes. Number 1, Hela. Hela is one of the most deadly villains when she wants to be. Like Mystique, Hela isn't always a villain. She's not inherently evil, but is capable of great evil if it is something that is needed for her to get what she needs or wants. As the ruler of Hell, she is immensely powerful when it comes to her magic and her physical strength as well. She's also a necromancer, being ruler of Hell, though she isn't someone who enjoys torturing the souls over which she rules or manipulating them into doing her bidding, unless, once again, it serves some greater purpose for her. Still, Hela is not someone you want to get on the bad side of, and more recently as we've seen her ally herself with Thanos, we've seen an even more malevolent side of her. So many deadly women and women who even rule over the dead. Number 10, Black Cat. Black Cat is only rounding out the bottom of this list because she is so ever changing when it comes to her alignment and so much more complicated of a character to be considered either a hero or a villain, really. But she definitely is a very capable and dangerous criminal, when she needs to be, or when she wants to be, which is why she still makes the cut. When it comes to going up against Black Cat, odds are good you probably don't want to. In fact, she might not even be someone you want as an ally, considering that Black Cat could in fact be ready to double cross you at a moment's notice. Felicia Hardy is definitely one of the most dangerous thieves around when it comes to Marvel Comics, making her one of the publisher's most deadly, sometimes villain. Number 9, Bloodlust. Bloodlust was one of the villainesses that ended up joining the Femme Fatales. The Femme Fatales were an all-female supervillain group who were for a time working alongside Superia's Femizons in a plot to take over the world. She would end up being a mutant who lost her powers on M-Day, but when she did have them, they were very similar to Wolverine and X-23's. Bloodlust, whose real name is Beata Dubiel, actually predates X-23 in terms of her first appearance. Pretty cool facts. She first appeared in the comics in Marvel Comics Presents in 1990. After she lost her powers though, she became a skilled assassin who fought with small, stiletto-like blades. Powered, Bloodlust was believed to be as strong and deadly as Wolverine. Depowered, she was still a skilled enough fighter to give Domino a run for her money. Before we move on to our next number, just a quick reminder to give this video a thumbs up if you are enjoying it. It really does help us out. Number 8. Emma Frost. Emma Frost is only ranking so low on the list because she is a reformed villain now in the comics, but that doesn't mean that she is any less deadly now that she is a hero. As a villain, she managed to swap bodies with Storm and infiltrate the X-Men. As a mutant and a person, Emma is so skilled and so badass that she even manages to use other mutant skills better than even they can. Like when she swapped bodies with Iceman and showed him up. Beyond that though, even just as a woman, not even considering her especially strong diamond form or masterful telepathic powers, Emma is pretty remarkable and dangerous. She's just a powerhouse who knows how to bargain when it comes to business dealings and relishes the power she wields as the White Queen of the Hellfire Trading Company, and formerly the Hellfire Club, because that's what the trading company used to be. But anyways, now the Hellfire Club is a bunch of kids that are villains, so modern time comics. Number 7. Mind Blast. We are going back to the Femme Fatales for a little bit here. This member of the team was actually first introduced in the 90s in Amazing Spider-Man issue 340. She is not only a mutant but also a cyborg. Her mutant powers grant telekinetic abilities which she can use to fly and manipulate other objects. In addition, she also possesses the power of telepathy via her cybernetic enhancements, which grant her telepathic shielding and allow her to create quite convincing psychic illusions. Convincing enough to lure some of the X-Men, including Psylocke, into a trap. Which in my mind, if you're tricking Psylocke with like telepathic illusions, you're pretty good. Number 6. Elektra. Elektra is one of the most skilled and dangerous women out there, both when she's acting as a villain and when she's acting even as a hero. Like Emma, she also ranks a little bit lower due to the fact that she is currently attempting to prove she can be good and operating under the codename Daredevil. So not super villainous right now. However, part of the appeal with Elektra is while an ally to Daredevil, she has never been completely good and in general is considered as more being a villain than a hero. Initially, she didn't possess any powers but was an incredibly skilled fighter, assassin, and ninja. Since being resurrected by the Hand, however, she does have some powers. She can low-key possess other people's minds, using this to track down her targets. It's also been revealed that she has other mental and telepathic abilities and fighting techniques. Gotta love those mental fighting techniques. Mental screams. Ah! This is why I should never get any kind of sonic scream, because I would just sound ridiculous. Not my mutant power. Okay.
Number 5. Blackfire. Blackfire is the older sister of Starfire from the Teen Titans. She often appears as an adversary of the Titans and is extremely powerful, outmatching the already astounding Starfire in battle. She can absorb ultraviolet radiation and transform it into deadly bolts she calls black bolts, and can even change radiation into energy, giving her superhuman strength and endurance. She is especially powerful, capable of interstellar travel and flight in space. It's kind of the same thing. She appears in Red Hood and the Outlaws number 11, where she fights alongside her sister and takes down the Blight after they capture Roy Harper. It's an epic team up and a great reunion for the two sisters. Number 4. Mary, Queen of Blood. Mary Seward is the Queen of Blood, appearing in House of Mystery number 290 in 1981. She once had a lover named Andrew Bennett, a decorated nobleman who was bitten and turned into a vampire. Mary begged Andrew to bite her as well, hoping that the two could spend eternity together. However, Andrew resists the vampiric bloodlust while Mary embraces it and becomes a ruthless killer. She forms a cult called the Blood Red Moon and Andrew hunts her across the centuries trying to stop her. She once turned an entire temple of monks into vampires, but they rather impressively resist the bloodlust through mindfulness and meditation. She has a crazy host of powerful abilities, including psychokinesis, transformation, regeneration, superhuman strength, not to mention immortality. As long as she has a steady supply of blood, she is extremely powerful, and I'm sure it's easy for her to get more. Number 3, Killer Frost. Killer Frost is just a classic deadly female villain, an icy-hearted femme fatale who will literally suck the life out of you in a heartless attack. There have been multiple iterations of Frost, always iconic and always super powerful, having once even sold her soul to become more powerful. She has been kidnapped and forced to work on the Suicide Squad, and once even worked alongside Batman. Caitlin Snow is the newest Frost, a scientist who is tricked by Hive and made to die in a staged accident, but she instead survives and gains her ice-based powers. She is not made of ice, but instead generates organic ice-like cells that make up her entire genetic makeup. She is a heat vampire, absorbing the body heat of others to kill them. Number 2, Enchantress. Also known as June Moon, Enchantress gained her powers from an immensely powerful being and almost immediately winds up battling against Supergirl. She later joins the Suicide Squad as Amanda Waller agrees to help her control her evil Enchantress side. She can manipulate energy, heal, and even teleport. She once took on Wonder Woman, Cyborg, and Superman all at once, and has defeated other villains as well. Her powers have gotten kind of erratic and unpredictable since June Moon and Enchantress became separated from one another, but she has still demonstrated some impressive raw power in her villainous career. She is capable of flight, necromancy, and possession, elemental control, and even resurrection, but only if the corpse is fresh. If it's not though, she can always use the necromancy. Number 1, Evil Supergirl. Lex Luthor had an evil scheme that basically caused all of this. He created a black kryptonite energy ray, which he used on Supergirl, hoping to corrupt her. Instead though, the ray generated a second dark version of Supergirl. This dark version had similar memories and experiences, but believed that she was sent to Earth to kill Superman. And as you can imagine, she's crazy powerful. She goes on a rampage using her Kryptonian powers, causing tons of damage, and even taking down Black Canary and the Flash before finally facing off in an epic battle with Superman and Wonder Woman. Evil Supergirl is likely one of the most powerful villains ever, and it's actually Wonder Woman that brings her down in the end, catching both versions of Supergirl in her lasso and merging them together back into one.
Number 10, White Rabbit. While White Rabbit hasn't done that much yet, she was recently announced as the main villain for the first arc of the new Batman and Robin book, so evidently she must have some pretty big power to be playing a role as the main baddie there. And not just any main baddie, by the way, the first one in this story. Typically in comics, the first villain to appear also tends to help define the focus of the entire story, and often are defeated at the beginning only to come back even bigger, badder, and stronger by the end. Not always, but you know, this is pretty common, I find, when it comes to my experience reading comics, so this could be one of the scenarios that we're gonna see here. When White Rabbit first appeared, she introduced herself as the girl that got away, and was established as a pretty slippery character who had the power to be in two places at once, enjoying taunting and tormenting Batman, all while actually dating Bruce Wayne, who I don't believe she actually knew was Batman, but still, that's pretty crazy. Her White Rabbit persona seems more interested in the Bats, while her Jaina Hudson persona seems more interested in Bruce, which makes for an interesting dynamic when it comes to how she relates to the character of the Dark Knight, being herself kind of two different people. I mean, literally two different people. And friends, before I move on to our next spot on this list, if you love when we talk about powerful female characters, be sure to go check out our most powerful playlist. Number 9, Lady Bullseye. Man, Lady Bullseye. For a female version of a male villain, she's actually surprisingly cool, I gotta say. Like her male counterpart, Lady Bullseye is also a master of accuracy, being able to hit just about any target with just about any projectile. She was actually inspired by Bullseye herself to become a villain after he incidentally, though not really intentionally, saved her at a young age. Lady Bullseye was created by the fantastic creative team of Ed Brubaker and Clay Mann, and is a more modern comic book creation, first appearing in Daredevil issue number 11 from 2008. Number 8, Captain Phasma. Man, I love Captain Phasma. I feel so like I was robbed of just getting all of the Captain Phasma stuff and backstories and There's so much good stuff about her. While Captain Phasma may have been shafted in the Star Wars films, I know she has some pretty great comics to her name, which are being produced over at Marvel Comics as part of their Star Wars division, or that have been, I guess I should say. So in that regard, she definitely counts as a female comic book villain, while also happening to be a Star Wars villain as well, so just bonus. Phasma's own origin story shows how strong and determined she is as a character. Much of what we know from this story actually comes from the novel about her that was based on sort of her origin story titled Phasma. Here it's established that Phasma grew up on Parnassos, a world ravaged by nuclear calamity. Phasma helped to organize the death of her own clan, including her parents, to ensure her brother and herself survive, even going so far as to fake a threat to his life by herself stabbing him in the foot and then pushing him down a cave. When Phasma first met with the First Order, she was enamored by their resources, their wealth, and their power, and saw in them a way to rise up herself. When her brother Keldo refused to help her in aiding the First Order, she even turned on him, killing him and leaving with a few of the best warriors to join with the dark side. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. She's just like, I'm just gonna get rid of this entire family, go do my own thing. Number 7, Enchantress. Enchantress over at DC Comics is kind of a 2-for-1 deal. I feel like I got a lot of characters actually on here that are kind of 2-for-1 deals. June Moon makes up her civilian persona, a totally different person actually, while Enchantress is the dark witch that is her superpowered villain persona. The two became attached years ago and have not been able to be separated since. In the film Suicide Squad, Moon, played by Cara Delevingne, was an archaeologist, but in the comics, June Moon is actually an artist, making her possession by the entity known as the Succubus even more disturbing and strange. Enchantress first appeared all the way back in the 60s, created by Bob Haney and Howard Purcell, making her first appearance in Strange Adventures issue 187. Number 6, Star Sapphire. Star Sapphire is often known for being the rival of Green Lantern. She is Carol Ferris, initially Hal Jordan's love interest turned his villain, who also was often still kinda his love interest. She herself becomes a Lantern, but just not of the green variety, instead becoming a Violet Lantern, joining the Star Sapphires, or if you prefer, the Violet Lantern Corps. The violet spectrum of emotion and light actually rules over love, longing, lust, so I think you can imagine what kind of power Carol holds both over Hal and, you know, any others who happen to fall into her path. I also love the idea that someone wielding love can be just as deadly as someone like a Red Lantern or a Green Lantern who wield the power of rage or willpower respectively. Number 5, Kandra. Kandra is part of the Externals, and as such has spent a good amount of her comic book history being a pretty powerful villain. The Externals are immortals who can't be killed, except on the rare occasion when they can, because comics. And because, I mean, hey, every character has to have a weakness. For Externals, they can be killed by having another external kill them if their hearts are consumed by said foe. Kandra is an immensely powerful telekinetic who also possesses some telepathic abilities, but she is also just deadly because of how ruthless she is and because of all of her connections, because she's so old. She not only is powerful in her own right, but also holds sway over other powerful mutants and allies. By the way, Externals are different from Eternals, in case you were wondering, though both are godlike but in different ways. And both are from Marvel, which is confusing. But yeah, Externals, Eternals. Number 4, Veranki. Queen Veranki is the main antagonist of the Secret Invasion storyline. Disguised as Spider-Woman, she, along with many of her undercover Skrulls, managed to infiltrate and, in secret, invade Earth. Hence the name of the story, Secret Invasion. Veranki is less about killing and more about conquering, but usually when it comes to conquering a planet, you know, you're probably gonna have to break a few eggs, and when I say break a few eggs, I mean kill a few humans. As a Skrull, Veranki is capable of shapeshifting. She also can employ a special Skrull ritual in order to grant herself the memories and powers of those she is impersonating. And of course, as a queen, she also has armies at her beck and call. Or she did, until she was ultimately defeated and killed by one of the most evil characters in Marvel Comics and one of the most deadliest male villains, Norman Osborn. Also, where's my deadly male villain list? Number 3, Madeline Pryor. Also known as the Goblin Queen. Madeline Pryor was a pilot in Alaska who won Scott Summers' heart in part because, well, she looked exactly like his thought-dead ex-teammate and lover, Jean Grey. You know, nothing gets someone going like being like, wait, you look like someone that just died that I was in love with. Oh, I'm so into this. I'd be like, I'm so traumatized by you, I definitely don't want to be around you. But hey, to each their own. It was later revealed to comic readers and Maddie herself after she married Scott and had a child with him that she was in fact Jean's clone, created using a piece of the Phoenix Force by Mr. Sinister, as part of a plot to create the perfect mutant, her son, baby Christopher, who'd grow up to become Nathan Summers, aka Cable. Mr. Sinister intended to steal the baby for himself and then destroy Maddie, having no further need for her. That's so rude. When she discovered she was Jean's clone and that Sinister was her creator, she ended up suffering from a mental break that in essence turned her evil. She made a pact with a demon and planned on sacrificing her son and other children in order to gain power, but ended up being stopped by the X-Factor and the X-Men teams. She has been thought dead, and actually dead, a few times in the comics, and made a recent return in 2020's Hellion series. And then we all realized, oh yeah, we totally forgot that Madeline Pryor is still alive and has been for a while. I'm sorry. I feel bad for her. She returned as a villain once more, and after her return was shortly thereafter defeated and is now presumed dead. But only time will tell if that remains true. Number 2. Harpy. And more specifically, Red Harpy, as you may have noticed from our thumbnail for this video. Harpy is basically the evil version of Betty Ross, Bruce Banner's love interest and ex-wife. Harpy came into being when MODOK used gamma radiation to transform her into a winged monster, who would make a pretty fitting opponent for the Hulk. Her exposure to gamma radiation not only made her the amazingly strong green monster known as the Harpy, but also drove Betty insane, making it easy for MODOK to manipulate her and use her to do his bidding. After becoming Red She-Hulk, we'd later also see an even more horrific version of Harpy when Betty returned as the immortal Red Harpy. Harpy in general is considered to be one of the strongest villains around and is strong enough to take on the Hulk face to face in a fight. One-on-one. She can also heal, fly, and possesses razor-sharp claws and talons. Number 1. Saturnine. That's Magistrix Opal Luna Saturnine to you. Also known as the White Witch, Saturnine is likely one of the most deadly villains on this list, considering just how powerful she is, and just how unpredictable she is. Of course, you still have a chance of getting past her if she happens to be in a particularly good mood. The thing about Saturnine is that she isn't outright evil. She's more of an all-powerful character who becomes a powerful villain simply because she wants to have fun, or because she wants something that others refuse to grant her. She can be both a powerful ally and a powerful enemy, but you definitely do not want her as an enemy. Trust me. Saturnine is a deadly magic user who comes armed with the magic of Otherworld, and as the Omniversal Guardian and Magistrix is basically god level when it comes to the mischief that she is capable of.
Number 10. Dust. To me, Dust is almost the physical embodiment of the Thanos snap, you know? Anyway, Sora Kadir, aka Dust, is a mutant whose abilities allow her to transform her body into, well, dust. She was born in Afghanistan and was sold into slavery. She displayed her powers when a slave trader tried to remove her kneecap, and she flayed him alive. Yes, she flayed him alive. Once the X-Men got knowledge of Soraya and her abilities, they went looking for her and brought her back to the academy. Since Dust is a sand morph, she is able to reform her body into a humanoid or some sort of sand form. In this form, she's most resistant to injury and she's difficult to detect telepathically. In this sandstorm form, she's able to hurt her enemies by scouring the flesh from their bones, as well as being able to enter their lungs, hurting their opponents from the inside.
Number 9. Kitty Pryde. Kitty Pryde's powers are some of the most useful ones around. She can phase through almost anything and as such can travel into some of the most secure locations in the world without any trouble. Not only that, but she can use her phasing abilities in a fight to become completely untouchable, phasing through her opponents or even making her opponents phase momentarily only to become solid once again with something now lodged inside them. Kitty also received a power upgrade from an artifact known as the Black Vortex, which granted her more control over her powers while also increasing their strength to an extent.
Number 8. Magic. Ileana Rasputin, aka Magic, is the younger sister of Colossus and she's got a pretty long list of abilities. She's able to teleport, she can levitate, she has the power of necromancy, she can absorb souls, she's a master swordsman, she possesses a soul sword, and she can astral project. She's got a large skill set, as you can tell. Ileana was trapped in Limbo after being kidnapped by Velasco. During her time in Limbo, this dimension's version of Storm taught Ileana how to use spells and magic, and the cat is the one who taught her how to be a master swordsman that she is today. She also learned dark magic from Chthon, and he's like one of the most powerful demons in the Marvel Universe, so you know she got a good education from him. In a way. At one point, Illyana was even able to extract a piece of her soul to create the Soul Sword, and she used this to take over Limbo. She then returned to Earth and later learned that she was able to cover her body in Eldritch armor when she summons the Soul Sword. So not only is she a powerful sorcerer, but she also has magical armor to boot.
Number 7. Selene. Selene is known for being a powerful energy vampire and is something we don't really talk often enough about on this channel. She was originally known in the comics for being the Black Queen of the Hellfire Club and is an ancient immortal. So how does she stay looking so young? By feeding on the psychic energy of others. But Selene isn't just a vampire, she is also known for her telepathic and telekinetic skills. She has also been shown to demonstrate other powers over the years, like pyrokinesis, and has dabbled in magic as well. Not only that, but the energy she consumes can also be used to reinforce her physical strength and speed.
Number 6. Hope Summers. Basically, Hope Summers is mutant Jesus. Hope was the first mutant born after the Decimation, the event where Scarlet Witch wiped out all but 198 mutants. When Hope was born, there was a hunt for her. Some believed that she was the mutant messiah, and others believed that she was some sort of antichrist. It was discovered that Hope had the ability to enhance, activate, and mimic the powers of others, and these powers came in handy when she was trusted with the task of going to look for other mutants that they called lights. When finding these other mutants, Hope was able to calm them, stabilize their powers, and even awaken their abilities. On top of all this, it was also revealed that Hope was the new Phoenix, but this force was so unstable and unpredictable, Hope and Scarlet Witch joined forces, said no more Phoenix, and the Phoenix Force just dispersed around the world, giving birth to new mutants and restoring the mutant population. So not only is Hope able to influence the X genes of the lights, she was also strong enough to become the new host of the Phoenix Force, and then have the power to disperse it around the globe. She's OP. That's just my take on it. She's OP.
Number 5. Jean Grey. Also known as Marvel Girl, Jean Grey is one of Marvel's most complex heroes and first appeared in X-Men #1 in 1963. She witnessed the death of a young friend at age 10 and experienced her dying friend's thoughts and emotions, the tragedy activating her latent telepathic abilities. Professor X takes her under his wing and places psychic barriers in Jean's mind to protect her while she develops her powers. Jean goes on to bond with the ancient Phoenix Force and has an epic and expansive history with some of the X-Men's most compelling storylines ever. Jean goes from telekinesis rookie to superpowered pro throughout her story arc, with powers including memory alteration, mind control, mind possession, telepathic defense, psychic healing, astral projection, force fields, and more. Number 4. Captain Marvel. First appearing in Marvel Superheroes number 13 in 1968, Carol Danvers joined the Air Force when she turned 18, quickly rising to the top of her class. After 10 years of killing it in the Air Force, she was appointed to Chief of Security for NASA. Her father was a Navy man, and her mother was a captain of the Kree Army named Mary L. Growing up, Carol was unaware that she was a human-Kree hybrid. One day, she's kidnapped and taken out to an abandoned Kree outpost, where she's knocked into a damaged Kree machine called the Psyche Magnetron during a scuffle, and the machine leaves her genetic structure forever altered. She becomes a split personality hero, experiencing blackouts during which she becomes Miss Marvel, with powers of super strength, flight, and a seventh sense, giving her premonitions. The two personalities eventually are consolidated and she becomes her true self, an incredibly powerful member of Marvel's unique roster of heroes. Her powers include superhuman stamina, reflexes, energy absorption, and even self-sustenance. She also has a healing factor that would put Wolverine to shame. She basically doesn't age and is seemingly immortal. Number 3. Supergirl. Supergirl first appeared in Action Comics number 252 in 1959 and is known on Krypton as Kara Zor-El. She was sent to Earth by her father to save her life, like Superman. In the beginning, her arrival is confusing for Superman, who can't believe his eyes when he first sees a woman flying. She is, however, one of the most powerful heroes in the world and has been a member of the Justice League and the Red Lantern Corps. Supergirl is host to some epic larger-than-life storylines and has always been a fan favorite. Her powers include enhanced vision, including infrared, microscopic, and X-ray vision, invulnerability, and all the usual superhuman stuff, and some extras including flight, sound manipulation, force fields, and genius level intellect. It's been said that she sometimes seems more powerful than the Man of Steel himself. Number 2. Scarlet Witch. First appearing in X-Men number 4 in 1964, Wanda Maximoff was kidnapped as a child and experimented on. She once accidentally set a village on fire with her powers and was attacked by the angry villagers, one of whom called her a Scarlet Witch, and the name stuck. She was rescued from this situation by Magneto and recruited into his Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Destined to become a hero, she disagreed with Magneto's plan to kill the X-Men and eventually became an Avenger alongside Captain America and Hawkeye. She has the uncanny ability to generate hex bolts or hex spheres, manipulating energy fields to cause anything from momentum changes, molecular destabilization, force fields, or just deflecting attacks. Her hexes are especially useful in causing negative effects in the form of bad luck. Other powers include flight, teleportation, and powerful energy blasts. It's been said that Wanda is the nexus being of the Marvel Prime Universe, and it's that type of larger-than-life history that puts her near the top of this list. Okay, Nerd Squad, before we reveal our pick for number 1, take a second to smash that like button. But seriously, just click on it once. Number 1. Rogue. Also known as Anna Marie Laveau, Rogue was first seen in Avengers Annual number 10 in 1981. She was born in a hippie commune in Mississippi. Her mother died when she was young, and this led to her becoming rebellious, running away from home and earning the nickname Rogue. In her youth, she develops a relationship with a boy named Cody, but after her first kiss, her mutant powers kick in, absorbing Cody's life force from the skin-to-skin contact and leaving him in a coma. She's unable to control this power at first, and resolves to always wear body-concealing clothing to prevent skin contact. She is later recruited into the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants by Mystique, and in an intense battle against the X-Men, she absorbs the abilities and memories of Miss Marvel. Eventually, she begins to suffer from having Carol Danvers' memories inside her head, and she turns to Professor X for help. Over time, she earns the trust of the other members of the X-Men and becomes a valued member of the team. Rogue has the ability to absorb superpowers and memories of pretty much any being she comes into contact with. The transfer is usually temporary, lasting an amount of time relative to the duration of the skin contact, but in some cases, her power absorption is permanent, perhaps due to absorbing Miss Marvel's unique half-Kree DNA. In any case, it's this ability to absorb the powers and abilities of other beings that lands her at the number 1 spot on our list.
Number 10. Sapphire Styx. Sapphire Styx was a mutant villain powerful enough to turn Wolverine unconscious with her life-threatening powers. Her abilities allow her to steal the energy and life force of those she makes physical contact with, typically through kissing them. Kind of like Rogue, but without the power and memory absorption, and if she leaned into the harmful elements of her powers a little more. Sapphire did just that, and it is implied that she has been able to stay healthy and young for hundreds of years using her mutant ability. I love when we have like mutant vampirism. I love those powers. It's also believed she is powerful enough that she could use her mutant ability to kill her victims depending on her target's power level and resistance, of course. In the end, she was defeated and killed by Psylocke, who used her powers to avenge all the souls that Sapphire had ever drained, shattering her. Psylocke then used Sapphire's soul energy to rebuild her own body, becoming Betsy once more. Number 9. Knockout. Knockout has only made a few appearances in the comics since her first appearance in the 90s, but she is still a pretty deadly female villain and is super badass. She has worked within both the villainous supergroup of the Femizons and the Femme Fatales. More recently, she was seen once again fighting alongside the Femme Fatales. Knockout is a mutant whose powers are enhanced strength, endurance, and durability. She's a skilled enough fighter that she was able to make quick work of Mutant Rogue when she faced her briefly in Hunt for Wolverine, Mystery in Madripoor. Number 8. Lady Mastermind. We could talk about both for this point, but I've decided to focus on Reagan Wingard, who popped up in Dawn of X, as opposed to Martinique, who is also the daughter of Jason Wingard, aka Mastermind. Mastermind OG. Even when it seems like Reagan has not been strong enough when it comes to her mutant powers to achieve the desired effect on her victims, she has proven skilled and resourceful enough to find a way to push through any mental blocks or willpower that those she targets possess. Her mutant powers allow her to create realistic illusions that in fact can even trick your body into responding to them as if they were real, meaning that her illusions can actually kill you. Yikes. Unlike her father, her powers also do not require her full and devout concentration to work. Lady Mastermind's illusions will persevere even if she goes unconscious, which is pretty powerful. She's basically like way more powerful than her dad. And before we move on to our next spot, time for the most YouTube of moments where I ask you to kindly click that like. Pretty please? Number 7. Yelena Belova. Yelena Belova has always been the rival to Black Widow since way back when she was training in the Red Room Academy. She always aimed to be the best of the best and was driven crazy by her obsession to become the best operative out there. Belova at one point had her face swapped with Natasha's against her will, so that Nat could prove a point to her, basically that being a spy wasn't that great, to help convince her to come over to the good side of things, sort of. Belova will likely play a much less villainous role in the MCU, but in comics she has often been known as an antagonist to Black Widow. And she also has been Black Widow before. Although she is usually manipulated into being a villain, and the most evil thing about her is generally her competitiveness with Natasha, which we've already seen will be addressed in the Black Widow film, just based on the trailer. Belova has also acted as an ally to Natasha on occasion as well, despite the fact that she has lots of reasons to hate her. So yeah, it depends on what you're reading. If she can be a villain, she can sort of be not really a hero, but an ally. She can be a hero in her own way. Number 6. Lady Bullseye. Maki Matsumoto is known for being one of the fastest fighters around. She is both believed to be faster than the Kingpin and Bullseye, who inspired her to become a killer under the same mantle, and Bullseye, who in fact inspired her to become a killer under that same mantle. She was saved by Bullseye when she was a little girl, who the Yakuza intended to sell for their own means. Bullseye, however, was tasked with wiping out those who would be responsible for her and many other victims' sale, and killed them before they could do so. Lady Bullseye is a skilled fighter, trained in wielding many different types of weapons, and proficient in many different kinds of martial arts. Oh, she also is apparently a lawyer, or at least understands law well enough to pose as one. She's both worked with Kingpin and successfully defeated him in combat, which I think is pretty impressive. Kingpin is not an easy person to defeat in a fight. Number 5. Grail. Grail is the powerful daughter of Darkseid and the Amazonian assassin Myrna. Being that she is both Amazonian by birth and also a new god, she is extremely powerful. She also has been shown to possess magical abilities as well that even allow her to have some power over life and death, successfully bringing back her father Darkseid after he died. Initially though, Grail was actually born with her mother's hope that Grail would one day be the key to defeating Darkseid. However, there was also a prophecy that Grail would one day cause great destruction, with the knowledge putting her in danger shortly after she was born. With this knowledge putting her in danger shortly after she was born. Her mother Myrna gave birth to Grail at the same time that actually Princess Diana was born to Hippolyta. Together, Myrna and her newborn were two of the first Amazons to actually leave Themyscira. Eventually, the prophecy connected to Grail would come true, with her teaming up with the Anti-Monitor initially in an attempt to defeat her father, Darkseid. I think you can imagine that would be pretty destructive. Number 4. Moonstone. Carla Sofin is Moonstone. She started out as a brilliant but evil psychiatrist who actually used her skills and knowledge to manipulate, get this, her own patients. That is definitely not good. That's some villain stuff right there. She became the protege of Dr. Faustus, continuing to develop her manipulative skills and her nature. Eventually, she managed to persuade the original Moonstone, Lloyd Bloch, into handing over the alien gem that gave him his powers. She used it to become a superpowered villain in her own right, and has often been known for her conflict with Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel, and then of course, later Captain Marvel, which came more to a head during her time on Norman Osborn's Dark Avengers team. Number 3. Umar. Umar is the sister of the famous Dormammu, although sadly I feel like not a lot of people talk about Umar. We all talk about Dormammu, but what about Umar? She's there too, she's super cool. Like her brother, she is also an extremely powerful being and hails from the Dark Dimension, although she too is a member of the Faltine, so they're actually not native to the Dark Dimension, but simply infiltrated it and then ended up conquering it, with Dormammu becoming its ruler, but really only because the fight to actually win it and also trap the mindless ones had left Umar in a weakened state, so that's why her brother rules and not her. Umar and Dormammu are both members of the Faltine, a race of beings known to be extremely powerful energy-based beings that are basically made up of pure magic. Doesn't get more magical than that. Number 2. Hela. Hela is the daughter of Loki in the Marvel Universe, or at least in the comic book main continuity universe of Earth 616, although most people know her as Thor and Loki's secret sister in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But in the comics, this is actually not how she's connected to the family. Inherently, Hela mythologically was was not necessarily, but her being a goddess of death basically is what makes her bad, at least in the comic book universe. Just her attachment to that part of the life cycle, as well as her connection to the underworld, as well as the fact that, you know, she's Loki's daughter. As a ruler of Hell, Hela is granted full immortality, even beyond what a normalized guardian would have, which, in case you didn't know, they're actually not technically immortal. Hela can also make almost anyone age rapidly, including people that are actually Asgardians, or also render anyone immortal if she so chooses. She can take your life away, or she can give you endless life. Number 1. Circe. Circe is one of my all-time favorite villains from the DC universe. She's an immensely powerful and ancient witch who often opposes the DC hero Wonder Woman. At one point in DC Comics, Circe was able to take within herself all the magical power and abilities of Hecate, or Hecate if you prefer, making her one of the most powerful magical forces in the world after Hecate fell. Fortunately, the Justice League Dark were able to stop her, but for a moment there, and even after the conflict was resolved actually, she became pretty insanely powerful. I gotta say, I was like, I don't even know how they're gonna get out of this one, and then they somehow managed to do it.
Number 10. Amanda Waller. She doesn't even have superpowers, but she is a power all on her own. Nicknamed the Wall, she is a government official who will do anything in the name of national security. I'm talking breaking the rules, killing people, even killing innocent people. She is the commander of Task Force X, aka Suicide Squad, a supervillain team that performs special operations under her command. She has a brilliant tactical mind and is ruthless and disciplined, bending supervillains to her will to get her work done, but she's not afraid to get her hands dirty. She once even uncovered Batman's secret identity. She might not be the deadliest DC villain by a pretty wide margin, but there are a whole host of DC villains that would say she's plenty deadly. It's this ability to get superpowered villains to do her dirty work that earns her this spot on our list. Number 9. Catwoman. Coming straight from the heart of Gotham City, Selina Kyle has had a varied origin, but she always ends up becoming Catwoman. In more recent years, she shows up more as a helper to Batman than as an enemy, but she is one of Batman's original villains, and for good reason. She is in peak physical condition and a nimble acrobat as well as master thief, sometimes even using literal cats to help her in her schemes. She might not have super strength or energy manipulation, but she is still a deadly foe, a skilled martial artist, stealth expert, and has considerable skill with weapons, including firearms and swords. Number 8. Cheetah. A much more intimidating cat, Cheetah has had a bit of a legacy, and there are a few different versions of the character. The most recent iteration of Cheetah is Barbara Minerva, who just recently appeared in DC's Wonder Woman 1984. A skilled archaeologist and linguist, she has a keen interest in the lost culture of the Amazons, and she actually helped Wonder Woman learn English when she first came to the United States. Dr. Minerva has made a pact with a god, transforming her into the cheetah with superhuman speed and all the deadly attributes of a feline. She battles with the inner turmoil of resisting her animalistic rage and predatory fury, and was once friends with Wonder Woman, at least in her human form. She was once busted out of jail by the crime syndicate and recruited onto their team. After a while, she led her own team known as the Menagerie, who terrorized New York from their hideout in Central Park. Number 7. Punchline. Also called Alexis K, she is the Joker's new right-hand woman, as Harley has a lot going on right now and the two aren't really on speaking terms. She was a student at Snyder College and encountered the Joker while on a field trip to a TV studio. Joker hijacked the studio and Alexis was forced at gunpoint to act as the newsreader, delivering Joker's message to the citizens of Gotham. After this encounter, she became obsessed, starting a podcast about the Joker and poisoning the people around her to try and get his attention. She eventually kills her college dean, proving herself to the Joker, who taught her how to create a modified form of his Joker venom. Link in the script there. She goes on to help Joker in his war against Batman, eventually having an epic showdown against Harley Quinn and Batman. She wields a couple of daggers and holds her own well against Catwoman and Harley. Number 6. Silver Banshee. First appearing in Action Comics number 595, Silver Banshee is a villain with sonic powers who frequently goes up against Superman. She was once insanely powerful, but has sort of been dumbed down a bit over the years, That's just how it goes with these supervillains sometimes. But in her youth, she was dragged into the netherworld during a supernatural conflict as family stuff and granted superpowers by a creature called the Crone. She is initially controlled by the powers like a curse, but later overcomes it with the help of Supergirl. They become fast friends and get to know each other pretty well. The two later hang out in a bar together and it's totally lit. They're having a great time until her dad, Black Banshee, shows up. Luckily, the two of them are able to defeat Black Banshee together. Silver Banshee is known for her ability to learn language instantly, and more importantly, this crazy power to just like make people die by saying their name. It's sort of like the Black Canary's canary cry, except the Banshee version, and it instantly kills you. Number 5, Mera. Mera first appeared in Aquaman number 11 in 1963, and she's not just the lady version of Aquaman. Mera hails from Dimension Aqua, where DC writers are sent as punishment for coming up with lame dimension names. A criminal named Liron seizes control of the kingdom, and she is banished, exiled off to the Earth dimension, where she meets Aquaman. Liron follows Mera, but working together with Aquaman, she manages to defeat him, and Mera opts to stay with Aquaman in Atlantis. She is an amphibian, possessing gills that allow underwater breathing. She has the power of hydrokinesis, allowing her to increase density of water and create water missiles from hard water. She has exceptional strength and durability, as well as telepathic communication with other aquatic peoples, but not with lesser marine life like Aquaman. No hitching a ride on a whale for Mera. Number 4, Raven. First appearing in DC Comics Presents number 26 in 1980, Raven was part of Teen Titans from the beginning. She was born a half-breed, the daughter of a human mother and a demon overlord father. Fearing for her future, Raven's mother takes her to Azarath, a peaceful reality where she's taught how to control her emotions in order to maintain control of her inherited demonic powers. When she learns that Trigon is coming to her dimension, she vows to stop him and approaches the Justice League, but they refuse her after the magical Zatanna senses her demonic parentage. Throughout her story, she has been possessed, become a spirit, and once had to find a new body. Raven has the ability to send out her soul self for spying and stuff, but it can also fight and use telekinesis. She can teleport, fly, and use psychokinesis to manipulate matter at the atomic level. She is also tele-empathetic, meaning she can feel the emotions of those around her and absorb others' pain to heal them, or heal herself through meditation. She can generate and manipulate darkness as well, usually in the form of a raven. It's been noted by her demon father Trigon that she only uses a small potential of her power, and if she released her inner demon, she could potentially reach near infinite power. Number 3, Starfire. Starfire comes from the planet Tamaran in the Vega system, where golden-skinned humanoids make up a passionate society driven more by emotion than by reason. Starfire, aka Princess Coriander, had an older sister that was the first in the line of succession, but this sister had a childhood illness that affected her abilities. She became known as Blackfire, and she fled her home after being denied her birthright, aligning herself with a fascist empire known as the Citadel. The Citadel returns and enslaves the homeworld, and eventually Starfire is forced to flee and finds her way to Earth, where she later joins the Teen Titans. Starfire can channel and project energy in the form of starbolts, and when using her abilities in full force, her eyes glow and her fiery hair appears to glow and flicker. She is super powerful, with a unique physiology allowing her to survive even in the cold vacuum of space. She can fly, absorb energy, self-sustain, and assimilate languages through touch. Number 2, Miss Martian. Also known as Megan Morse, she first appeared in Teen Titans Volume 3 in 2006. In the DC universe, there are two versions of Martians: green-skinned, peaceful philosophers, and white-skinned, vicious warriors. The story is, Megan's parents sent her on a rocket to the Vega system, home of the Citadel, to escape from the Martian Civil War. But secretly, she is actually a white Martian, captured by the US government. The exact details of her origin are debatable, but she did have a brief stint with the Teen Titans, not staying for very long. Similar to the Kryptonians, Martians have a different physiology and unique abilities. Miss Martian has a whole host of powers at her disposal, including telepathy, mind control, and telekinesis. She has a variety of visions, including X-ray, infrared, and microscopic. She has the usual super strength, super speed, can phase through walls, and even turn invisible. She has a regenerative healing factor actor and could potentially regenerate an entire body from one severed limb. And now, number 1, Zatanna. First appearing in Hawkman number 4 in 1964, Zatanna is an incredibly powerful member of the mystical Homo Magi, a subspecies of magic-wielding humans. The daughter of a famous magician, she grew up in a small house in New York, near the infamous Arkham Asylum. She became a successful illusionist before discovering her true powers while searching for her missing father. She meets quite a few heroes on this journey and returns to her career on the stage, occasionally assisting people in need with her powers. Zatanna has such a ridiculously comprehensive list of powers, there's no way I could list them all, but check this out. First of all, she can manipulate and create magical elements, anything from fire to water to light. She also has telekinesis, teleportation, reality alteration, and every warlock's favorite, Eldritch Blast. She has the power of flight, force fields, healing, hypnosis. I could honestly go on forever. Fun facts about Zatanna: she speaks the words in reverse when she's casting a spell, and she's a vegetarian. Also, one of her ancestors is none other than Leonardo da Vinci.